World War escalations. They're happening all over right now. Let's talk about some of them. Hey everybody, welcome back to Everyman Prepping. Hope you're all having a great day. And I'm going to leave this footage rolling up behind me really quick. It's the showing the extent of the bombing in Gaza. It's got some before and after pictures. But these escalations we're talking about are not just in Gaza, as we see here. It's also with Iran. It's in Europe. It's in Asia Pacific. And even here at home in the United States, we had a mass shooting event. Not really an escalation, but a sign of the times. They're telling us it's a horrible thing, of course. Prayers to all those people out there. But it's an or a current Army reservist, firearms instructor went out there, killed like 22 people, many more injured. As of the time I'm recording this, they haven't found him yet. So I know they're out there searching for him, but that's the story being presented to us. But when I sign off on my videos, the last part I always say, keep your head on a swivel. And that's just not saying that's what I want people to do. That's what I do. When you're out and about, your head's not, your head's not in your phone. You're not staring at your phone while you're walking around or you're sitting out. Your head is on a swivel. You're looking around. What's going on? Am I safe? Is my family safe? My friends or whoever I'm out with? Or am I safe? I'm by myself. Yeah, you keep the head on a swivel. Always pay attention. One of the stories coming out from that mass shooting is, a guy he was in the bowling alley. A guy heard the gunshot. He noticed that. He looked, saw that the person had a weapon, so he took off booking down the lane. He fell because it's, waxed and everything, but he said he fell. He actually, then slid all the way to the pins are. He crawled on top of the machinery and hid until, it was safe. He was by himself, just bowling. But, you got to keep that head on a swivel and act quickly. So when you're out there, make sure you guys are doing that at all times. Don't be buried in your phone or in something else. Always keep your eyes out. Now, I have a lot of stories to go through a lot of events happening. News cycle is very short these days, 24, 36 hours before new things come up. So I'm going to go through them kind of rapidly, fire them off here, and hopefully you can get something out of this. But let's go ahead and start and get on to it. As we start up these, as always, please thank you everybody for doing all the liking and commenting and sharing the videos. I really appreciate it. And if you've been coming by, and you haven't subscribed, do so. Hit that subscribe button, the bell, and join us. So anyway, we're going to start off here with Russia, and we're going to start off with Ukraine. Now, this isn't really, because we don't want to forget about Ukraine. Everybody's thinking about, Israel, the Middle East, and Hamas. Well, don't sleep on Ukraine over there in Russia. So we got Russian forces destroying 2 Leopard tanks, 85 Ukrainian troops. Now, this is coming out of TASS. It is, basically, Russia, government support and all that, but I look at all kinds of information here, both for Russia. There's a lot of, this is probably just as bad as looking at CNN. We look at everything, but they're killing some of the high-end tanks, according to them. As you scroll down here, you see, Russian forces eliminate 225 Ukrainian troops. In this statement, over here, they're repelling Ukrainian attacks. And it goes on and on. So fighting's still going on over there. Very heavy fighting. Lots of casualties. Has not died down. A lot of things happening over there still. In fact, we go to another thing here. This is, Russia was claiming they shot down some ATACMS. But it's come out they were lying. And in fact, the ATACMS were used to take out, this says S-300s, and the gentleman corrected himself, it's supposed to be S-400s. That's very high-end Russian air defense systems. Taking those out, they're worth millions and millions of dollars, maybe close to $1 billion, but took out a couple of those. More stuff, that's escalation there. That's going up. So that war's still going on. And in fact, we have here, the United States just gave them $150 more million of stuff. What do we have here? We got AIM-9 missiles, Stingers, HIMARS munitions, more artillery. Basically, any new artillery we produce, I think is just going over there. I think we're basically almost empty. Probably have enough of a little stockpile if we need some, but I think everything new manufacturers probably going to Ukraine. Got TOW missiles, javelins, 2 million rounds of small arms. So if you're out there and you want to know why 5.56 or 2.23 has gone up 40% in the last couple of days and all that, well, government has a ton of contracts out to replace all that were given away. So that's what's going on there. Night division, munitions, cold weather gear, because I guess they're going to get cold over there and they don't have their own clothing for some reason. But all this stuff we're sending them. So that's all going on over there. Don't sleep on that. And Russia just did this. So this is an escalation. So they simulate a nuclear strike after opting out of the treaty. Now, the key thing to remember is the United States signed the treaty, one of the presidents, I don't remember who it was never ratified by Congress. So the U.S. never ratified it. Russia did, but they just backed out now, so we're on the same footing. But, they decided to do a nuclear strike drill. They say they do them all the time, but in these times, you never know if it's a drill or if we're really preparing to do it. It says here, Russia's military has conducted a simulated nuclear strike in a drill overseen by Putin himself. Hours after the upper house of parliament voted to rescind the country's ratification of the global nuclear test ban. I think Russia also at this point decided that they don't have to tell us when they're testing. They're just going to go out and test. So that makes us a little more nervous over here in the United States, the military at least, because are they doing a test or are they launching? If Russia doesn't have to tell us, kind of keeps us on our toes and kind of keeps us guessing. We might think it's a test, but it's the real thing. So that's what they opted for. Also, this is what I told you about. The United States is basically has the same stance because it was never ratified. And it says this was practice dealing a massive nuclear strike with strategic offensive forces in response to a nuclear strike by the enemy. So they're putting out there that, quote, this is not a first strike test. This is a response. But my opinion, they're practicing for first strike because I believe they think they can get away with it. Definitely an escalation there in this little video of it here, but who knows where they shot this, what they got out of it. But it wasn't, a nuclear test. They're just testing the ICBM and all that. But definitely a flex, basically. As the young kids will say, Russia was flexing doing this and also escalating. Then we have this. Russia calls for the cessation of hostilities in Palestine. In Palestine-Israeli conflict. That's according to Lavrov. He wants basically a ceasefire to happen. And this is a quote from Lavrov. He says, Russia condemns terrorist actions and all other actions that violate international humanitarian law and cause harm to the civilian population, and calls for an immediate cessation of hostilities and the resumption of negotiations on the establishment of an independent Palestinian state. So I'm going to break that down just really quickly here. Like I said, we got a lot to get through. But, he said, they condemn terrorist attacks, but they're also condemning Israel in this by saying any actions that violate international humanitarian law. They're basically saying all the civilians that are dying over there in Gaza, we condemn that too. So we're condemning Israel, is what they're also saying here in this. That's why they said they want a ceasefire, because both sides are bad. So let's call it quick. Let's say we're good. And by the way, let's give Palestine their independent state also. There's no way Israel is doing that at this point, because that would just prove then if you're Hamas or Hezbollah or people on the West Bank that if you do a terrorist attack, you sustain a lot of bombing, you withstand it, you survive it, you're going to get your own state. That means terrorism works. So this ain't going to happen. It's kind of what Russia's pushing. So yes, an escalation and a division of East-West, all that good stuff. Moving on, what do we have here? Oh yeah, so last night I put this out on a video on my X feed, or the old Twitter feed. A video of Israel. They did what they called a combat raid into Gaza. They only went about 1 kilometer deep, and they basically took out some earthen berms, went through the fence. They're basically preparing, for the rest of the ground forces to go through. And you can see, this is the video I put up. I'll show it to you all here. But as you can see, they've got tanks with them. They got those big, basically tank bulldozers. They're plowing through the fences. They're plowing through the dirt, basically making a path so when their ground forces come in or go in, they have a route to go. It's 1 kilometer deep. They're probably going to do it for the next couple nights because, they're basically preparing going to Gaza. Nothing's going to stop them. And, there's not going to be a ceasefire either that makes it stop either. But that's the basic video of what's going on there. And it says here that, I'll just read it really quick. Israel Defense Forces have published footage. That's what you just saw. There it is again right there. And they're saying the death toll surpassed 7,000 civilians. I don't know who's counting. It's all coming from the Hamas Palestinian side, if it's that much or not. Israel's really pushing out. When Netanyahu came out yesterday and said, you need to leave from the north, go to the south, get out. If you don't, we're going to assume you're a terrorist, basically. We're going to assume you're Hamas. He's giving them the chance. He's also saying, at this time, if you want to turn in Hamas leaders, we'll pay you for it. So he's giving them an out, basically. That way, when they go in, they can say, well, we kind of told you so. And once you went through that, let's go through here real quickly. This is pretty, I guess you call it escalatory. The Hamas delegation arrived in Moscow as Russia blames U.S. for escalation. So yes, Hamas people went to Moscow to meet and talk to the Russians. And so what they talk about, we don't know, but it says here a delegation of Hamas leaders arrived in Moscow for talks. This is pretty crazy. People that conducted a terroristic raid in Israel, murdering beheading, doing all kinds of horrible things, taking hostages. What was it 1,300 people, 1,400 people by now? They were invited. I don't know if they're invited or they went to Moscow to talk to, the Russian Foreign Ministry. I don't know who they're talking to. I don't think they're meeting Putin, but they're talking to some people over there. And, it says here, quote, "I can confirm that representatives of Hamas movement are visiting Moscow." What are they doing there? I mean, you invited terrorists to your country. That's basically Russia giving support to Hamas. That's a big show of support. Even if they come out and say, "Well, we want to negotiate for the hostages. We want to try to do a ceasefire." I don't think you invite them over. You talk in a neutral, country. You go through a third party. You don't invite them to Moscow. This is not a good sign. I don't know if Moscow's going to support them or just to say that we'll support Iran if something happens, but this is pretty escalatory here, if you ask me. It says the visit was not previously announced by either side, and that the Hamas delegation is being led by a senior member of the group, Musa Abu Marzouk. I don't know if he's in here in this picture. This is from 2019. I don't even know if he's in or not, but we don't know what they're talking about. Who knows? But not a very good sign, if you ask me. And then also, we do have also proof that from TASS here that the Palestine leader Abbas is expected to go to Moscow, and he will meet with Putin. So now this isn't the Hamas leaders. This is the Palestinian leader, but Putin's meeting with them as well, basically showing what side they're on. Basically, Russia's on the Hamas Palestinian side, not the Israel side. So once again, we're seeing whose side everybody's choosing a side in this world war, and that's what's happening now. Now here we have Iran. The Iran foreign minister says Hamas has offered to free the hostages, but guess what? Guess what they want in return? You'll see down here. I'll show you. Let me go down here really quick. They want 6,000 Palestinian prisoners released from Israeli prisons. So, 6,000 suspected or convicted terrorists or Palestinians, they want those released for 250 people. This is never going to happen. It's kind of like Iran says, "Hey, why don't they'll release all your hostages. Just give us 6,000 prisoners that are basically 6,000 soldiers." So that's never going to go. It's kind of ridiculous, if you ask me, that Iran even put this forward. And then it says here that they want to work with Turkey and Qatar to facilitate the transfer of the hostages into Iranian custody. I'm not sure that's a good thing. Would you want to be a hostage for Hamas or a hostage basically for Iran? I don't know if I'd want to be transferred to Iranian custody, because if something happens, now do you become an Iranian hostage, Iranian human shield? That's a no-win situation. That's a non-starter, if you ask me, to do that. So I just want to put this out there that this came up, though, that this is coming out. Also, the fact they're involving Turkey. Turkey has condemned Israel, basically. They're based on Hamas's side also. Like I said, they're in NATO, but I've always told you, I think they're going to switch. They flip-flop around a lot. They approved Finland and most recently Sweden to go into NATO, but then they say things like they did just yesterday, saying, Israel's wrong, Hamas is correct, they're not terrorists, they're mujahideen fighters, they're freedom fighters. So, Turkey's a wild card. They're out there, and I could see them one day switching out of NATO. So once again, keep your eyes on that. Let's see where we'll go from here. Sticking with Iran. Here we have Iran has announced large-scale military exercises involving air, ground, and naval forces. So once again, remember back in February 2022, before Russia went in, they did large-scale military exercises with Belarus along the Ukrainian border. And they said, "Oh, it's just training, don't worry about it." What happened? They invaded soon after that. You only do large-scale training like this when, you're going to go to war, or you think you are. So the fact that Iran's doing this, announcing it, means they're preparing for war. This is some kind of Iranian rocket launcher of some sort. It says here, the situation in the Middle East is becoming more alarming every day. Yeah, no kidding. It says the Iranian armed forces will be involved in the maneuvers called Iqtidar, air, ground, and naval. At the same time, there is no doubt that such large-scale exercises are directly related to Tehran's preparation for the worst-case scenario. Yes, the United States is preparing for the worst-case scenario. Tehran's preparing for worst case. Everybody's preparing for the worst case because it's probably going to happen. So it's not a good sign that they're doing this. Everybody's getting ready for war is what this means. That goes on to my escalations thing. Lastly, what I'll do before we wrap this up here, we're going to go through some of my bookmarks I have on X. because this is some most current stuff that I just threw on really quick right before the video, and I just kind of pile up with the day. But so according to Taiwan, so we're going to move to China, Taiwan, because China's doesn't want to sit this out either. They want to get ready for World War III as well, and this is what they're doing. It says, according to Taiwan's MOND, which I'm not sure what that is, China's Shandong aircraft carrier crossed the Bashi Channel into the Pacific Ocean today, Western Pacific Ocean. That means the U.S. and Chinese aircraft carrier groups were in the very close proximity in the waters just west of the Bashi Channel, which I believe is in between the Philippines and Taiwan. So this is it here. So China, they're saying, hey, we're ready to, we're doing our training, so they don't want to leave left behind. So don't sleep on China either. This one here, once again, Israel artillery is basically shelling and setting fire to Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. That's still going on all the time. Lebanon, Hezbollah will attack with anti-tank munitions, hit either Israeli tanks or Israeli positions. They fight back, so that doesn't slow down. In fact, to think about it, if and when Israel goes into Gaza, and what happens is what everybody says is going to happen if Hezbollah does what they say in Iran, Syria, Israel could look to be having a 3 or 4 or 5 front war. In the south, you might have Egypt coming in. You can definitely have Gaza down there with Hamas. Then in the west, you have the West Bank. You got Jordan over there. Then in the north, you got Syria. You got Lebanon. So we're up to like 5 already, 5 front war. That's why the United States has 2 aircraft carriers, maybe a third on the way. They're just sending 900 more troops. You got the Marine Expeditionary Unit there with the general or the admiral in charge of that saying, don't even try to attack the Marines here. Otherwise, we're going to kill you and all your children are going to be fatherless. So everybody's ramping up their talk, their escalations going on. Let's see what else do I have here. Oh yeah, the bases. The bases in Iraq and Syria, the ones, the U.S. base in Syria that's an occupying force, and the ones in Iraq, they're still getting kamikaze droned all the time. This says that the Islamic resistance in Iraq, there's another country I have to worry about, has claimed responsibility for an attack tonight, which was last night, utilizing 2 kamikaze drones against U.S. forces at the air bases in northern Iraq. And I think today there's even been a couple more. And then we have here, this goes through, remember I told you, I think in the last video, or it's probably a post I put out, that U.S. is sending THAAD and Patriots to all kinds of countries over there. Well, THAAD's going to Saudi Arabia. I can see Saudi Arabia, who's already in BRICS, well, in January they will be, joining up with Russia and China and Iran. But we're sending THAADs there. The Patriots are going to Kuwait, okay, ally. Jordan, current ally, but they border West Bank, could flip. Iraq, we know what happened in the Iraq war, but there's already, drone flights and, people getting droned to death over there. So it could be an enemy. Saudi Arabia, like I said, could flip-flop, get more Patriots. Qatar, Qatar, and the UAE. So we're sending a lot of equipment to some countries that might flip on us and take the equipment, just kind of what happened in Afghanistan. I can see that repeating as well. And then we had this video come out. There's really no way to verify it, so we'll just take it what it is. But supposedly, this is Hamas releasing this footage saying that they have AT-4s and other anti-tank missiles that came from Ukraine. Ukraine either sold them, they got smuggled in there, but no way to prove this. But if it is true, that's another huge problem. I know there's tons of money laundering going on there in Ukraine. That's a given. Weapons, who knows where they're going. This could be legitimate, it could not be, but wouldn't surprise me. That's all the stories I have for now. I'm sure while I'm filming this video, the news cycle is so short, there might be some more that came up. So if you want to keep up to date the most, follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. Always post in there the newest things. I also put some of the key ones in the community section here. They also end up on your feed, your YouTube feed, or you can just go to the community tab and check those out. But like I said, they haven't caught that shooter yet in Maine. So if you're in that area, keep your head on a swivel over there. And as we go forward, I'll update you with everything I have. I know that ground invasion's coming. When it comes, whenever it happens or other major things happen, I'll be sure to jump on here and give you whatever I have, my thoughts, and what we should be doing when that stuff happens. But until then, until next time, keep your ear to the ground and head on a swivel.